This is the Unstuck movement. Welcome back. I am your host, Rob Z. These are true testimonies of breakthrough. And today we have the incredible David B. Prosper with us on the podcast. We're going to be talking about the clarity cycle, how to be aligned in your leadership, taking purposeful action, overcoming that overwhelm you might be experiencing in your life, and living intentionally. And David, I'm really excited to have you on, man. We're going to talk about, the drifting versus deciding that can happen to us in life. But I love talking discernment. It's one of my favorite subjects. And, in the world we live in right now, there's so many distractions. There's so many people pulling for our attention. And you might think you're on the right path, but how are you sure of that? So I wanted to ask you, how do you discern between your true calling and something that might look good, but is just a distraction?
That's such a good question, and thank you, Rob, for having me on. I'm excited to just unpack this a little bit more. I would say, like, the biggest tell is we can often see what's good, and then we practice that good, and then we're just like, but what is the great thing that we get to do? So, like, how I see discernment is how is my spiritual gifts? What comes naturally to me that I do like effortlessly, unconsciously, uh, like unconsciously conscious? Like I don't know how good I am. I'm just doing it. And how much does it fulfill me in the process? So for me specifically, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach. So when I see my audience or my clients have those breakthrough moments, that feels good for me. It feels rewarding. But if you put me in a job where I have to do administrative work and I have to work on Excel sheets, like I literally die inside. Like I can do it, but it takes so much out of me versus it naturally flows from me. So I would say the biggest discernment is what naturally flows, and that's where it's leading you. But if it feels forced, then that's typically where you're not as aligned.
Boy, man, that is the truth. I talk about that so much. That's like a common theme on this show, right? Because it's the truth. Because so many of us get caught up in, and we get stuck in a place where we might be really good at something, but it drains us, right?
Yeah.
Like we're really good at something. People love for us to do that thing for them, and we're happy to do it because we want to help others, and we can do it. It like gives us, it might give you satisfaction in knowing you are good at this thing, but at the end of the day, like you're drained whenever you do
Yeah.
it. Then there's things that you're just naturally good at that you could do all day long that like build you up and build others up. Like for me, it's probably the same for you: podcasting, speaking, connecting with people. It's like I could do it all day because
Yeah.
it's so fun, and there's an ease to it, and like I
Mhm.
just know that's where I'm supposed to be. So that's really good. I want to ask one question deeper on that too before you even fully introduce you. How do you figure out what those giftings are, right? Because oftentimes when you're naturally really good at something, you don't really think that much of it because it's like, well, isn't everybody good at that thing because I'm good at it, right? So sometimes you need to look outside of yourself to figure those things out. What are some ways you found to reveal people's callings when they might be right under their noses, but they don't see them?
Mm, that's a deep question. I would say one of the biggest things for figuring that out is exposure. So what are we exposed to? Then the second step would be education. How are we educated about understanding? And then the next step is execution, doing the thing. So for me, I started to learn my giftings because my mother was a pastor and she exposed me to organizations in the church. And then she educated me on like what it was like, how Jesus served. And then execute, she asked me to start serving. And then she started putting me in positions where I could speak, where I could hold space for people. And I was like, oh, this fulfills me. And then she also put me in other spaces and during Sunday school, and I had to like clean and do the manual stuff and clean the toilets. And I was like, I don't like that stuff. So it was all of those things is exposure. Who are we exposed to? And the biggest question is, who are we connected to? So
Mm-hmm.
if the first step of somebody's trying to discern how do they navigate a purpose-filled life, a life of clarity, find someone who has clarity, who's living on purpose, and be in their ecosystem, be curious about how they found there, and then start putting yourself in positions, whether it's volunteer work, whether it's internship, whether it's finding a mentorship. And then you start like saying, okay, what works, what doesn't work. And then when you find the thing that does fulfill you or that flows, start honing your craft and becoming a master at that.
Yeah, man, that's it. And like you said, your mom had you basically volunteer at a young age. Probably she
Hmm.
what are they? She forced you to volunteer, right? But
Voluntold.
yeah, very good. That's what I was looking for the word. Yeah, voluntold you to do it. And that's how you find your giftings. That's so good. I love that because when we isolate ourselves, we try to figure things out in like a bubble. Like you need people around for God to reveal your gifts to you,
Yeah.
right? If you're not around people, he's not going to reveal the gifts because you find through community where those come from. I mean, I'm sure you could figure them out by yourself, but it's so much faster. You see how you naturally serve people so much faster when you're with people. So
Yeah.
that's really good. I love that.
And I want to add something to that as well.
Yeah.
When you talk about God reveal your gifts through community, think about an apple tree, right? An apple tree doesn't benefit from the apples itself, the other people around it. So it's in community. How we serve others is how we find our gifting versus how it serves us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an apple tree is served by the soil. The apples grow, people get the apples, or animals, they eat them, the seeds fall back into the soil, come back up through it. That's like creates that cycle, just like for people, right? That's a beautiful metaphor. I don't even think I have that fully put together in my head right now, but there's definitely something powerful there. Okay, so anyways, before we get rocking and rolling, I just want to welcome everybody to the platform. This is the Unstuck movement. The whole point is I've been stuck many times in my life. David, I'm sure you have also. We all find ourselves stuck at different points, bottlenecks, at just places of a fork in the road, and you've got to find that breakthrough. So I love this show to be an example for anybody watching or listening. If you're stuck, there's breakthrough coming for you. Use these stories as real life examples that it's possible for you. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Over 500 heart-centered entrepreneurs from all over the world helping each other grow. And also the Pro Podcaster Academy. So if you're somebody who wants to launch your podcast, but there's too many nuts and bolts to figure out, it's very complicated, and you need a streamlined, easy process to get it, I would love to help you become the authority in your industry, make an impact in people's lives, and also make incredible personal and professional connections. And if you have a podcast, how do you make it easily executable to have an episode, release it on the day you record it, and also to make a revenue generating stream from your podcast that creates real revenue for your business? I would love to help you with the Pro Podcaster Academy at robzwentz.com. With us today is David B. Prosper. He helps leaders and entrepreneurs break free from confusion, reclaim focus, and move forward with confidence through his clarity archetype and C5 framework. He teaches actionable steps to create purpose, alignment, and prosperous lives. So, what would you say? I want to know your story, but I also want to know, what do you think the biggest myth is about clarity that is keeping people stuck? What's the biggest myth we hear the word clarity a lot, getting clear? What do you think the biggest myth is there?
That's such a great question. And I've been interviewed and I've had these conversations with countless people. The biggest myth about clarity is that you have to have it all figured out. So there's this assumption, and I've even had debates with people, and it's like, well, you don't need clarity in order to take your next step. And I was like, that's the whole point of clarity. It's what is my next right step? Not having everything figured out. It's just like when we're going on a trip and we use our GPS and we're traveling at night, we can only see about 200 to 400 feet ahead of us, but we know the destination that is intended to go to, but we can only see 200 to 400 feet. So that's clarity. It's, I know eventually I want to serve people, impact the world, and do something that I love. So what is my 200 to 400 feet, my next step? So clarity is your next step, and that's the biggest myth, that you have to have it all figured out.
Yeah, and it's really important. I'm curious how your thought is. I'm sure it's similar to mine. You have to have a vision, right? There has to be the vision of where you're going,
Yeah.
but the next step might not be figured out yet, right? But as long as you hold on to that vision, you're and you're going to trust the discernment of God to guide you in the right direction, right? Okay, so now I know where I want to end up. I know what the vision is, but 2 minutes isn't promised from right now, right? It's like I don't know which direction that's going to go. I don't know what the right step is to take, right? So making those conscious decisions in clarity while having a strong vision, those two go hand in hand. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that?
I lovingly disagree. I lovingly
Yeah.
disagree.
Awesome.
And the reason why I say that, not a lot of people have vision, but a lot of people have purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the distinction between the two for me is vision is how am I going to serve the world, my community at a greater level? Like my personal vision is to serve 1 billion people to live by design. Not everybody has that, but everyone has purpose. And the purpose is what are my gifts and talents that can serve my immediate community? So there's people who have the grandioso vision, and there's people who just have the purpose of like, here's my skill set, here's my gifts. And those people need to work in tandem so that the vision come to pass and people live in their purpose.
Mm.
So that's my spin on it. But I would say like not everyone has a vision.
That's interesting. And I see what you're saying because, well, I talk about this a lot. Uh, for I would say most of the population, nobody talked about vision with us when we were growing up. It wasn't talked about in school. It was not taught to us how to discover what our vision is for the future. Those things weren't taught to us. I think we're all able to realize our vision, but we're
Mhm.
not taught how to do it. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
yeah, it can definitely be developed. And like you said, it's not something that is cultivated in a school setting because it's in those settings it's built to reinforce compliance versus creativity
Mm-hmm.
or collaboration. So vision can be cultivated, and I believe there's dormanted visions and there's dormanted micro visions.
Mm.
But I think to say like this blanket statements, and leaders like myself and so many others, like we can go on Mount Rushmore and kind of preach from the top like everybody needs vision and that's motivational, but that's not true for everybody.
Mm.
And that creates this false reality or even the shame culture of, oh, if I don't have a vision then I'm not doing something worthy, versus focusing on what is my purpose in this life, how can I serve the immediate people with the gifts and the talents that I have, and then how can I find others who have vision and come alongside of them. It's just like a church, not everybody's going to be the senior lead pastor. He has vision, but there's the choir director or the worship director, there's the administrative staff, and they support the vision and move it forward. So yes, it can be cultivated, but I don't think everyone has it. And that's why everyone has their different gifting, and not everyone's a leader of people, but people can be leaders of themselves.
Very good point. That's really good. We're not all visionaries. Certain people are visionaries, right? And that's
Yeah,
like a unique gift that they have. Great point. I love that perspective. That's a whole new flip on how I've been thinking about it for a
let's
while
go.
now. So you just gave me a whole new perspective. I appreciate that.
Let's
Um,
go.
so I always ask like favorite quote or personal philosophy. You said clarity isn't something you find, it's something you build. How have you built clarity? Let's go back in time. Like, who was David? And how did you build? I mean, there's probably a million steps of building in there, but kind of walk us through that journey of how you built clarity into your life.
Hmm. First and foremost, it started with curiosity. Like again, you mentioned the school setting. It is built to build compliance versus curiosity or creativity. So, how growing up for me, I had my mentors, Dr. Harrigan, Smith Harrigan, Junior Peters, George Fabre, like all of these really great men in my life was always having these philosophical questions and debates. But I was always curious, not so much of what they were saying, but how they would say it and how they would convince each other of their perspective when they're talking about football games. So curiosity was the first thing. And then like every time they would take me home, I hated this as a kid. I was always listening to Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, and I just wanted to listen to the radio. I'm a kid. I'm a teenager. I want to listen to all the rap songs so I can go to school. But they always was playing that in the car. So I was exposed to a different way of thinking, and how clarity for me was, what am I curious about? And then the next step was like, okay, how can I grow my capacity? Which is like, how can I grow the margins in which I hold other things in? And then how can I grow my skill set? So that's my competency, my skill set to do the thing. And the next step was, how can I grow my courage? And courage is not the absence of fear, but the presence of faith. And am stepping out of my comfort zone. And then the last was connection. So who am I connected to, and what am I connected to? And my grandfather would always say, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you where your future goes. So he was always saying, your connection leads to your direction. And if you want to be around people who make wise decisions, be around wise people. If you want to be a fool, continue to hang around fools and stay out of school. So he would
Turn
say
the
that
radio
stuff.
on, listen to the rap music, right? That was, or listen to Tony Robbins, right? Or,
Yeah,
Brown,
so
yeah.
that's 100% it. So he was planting those seeds, and I had to be receptive to it.
Oh, that's so good, man. I love that so much. What a blessing he had to have been in your life, man.
Yeah,
That's amazing. We could all, and I love thinking about that too, because I think with my kids, like I try not, I don't push things on them, but I give them, like, it's osmosis. They see who I am. They see what I do. They know what I listen to. They know what I watch. And when they're around me, I expose them to those things, and I know it's rubbing off. Because it might be in one ear out the other. Like, well, whatever, Dad. That's I don't want to listen to that. It's boring or whatever. But those things are getting in there, and you can hear it come out through them over time. You're like, there we go. Those little nuggets are those seeds are being planted, whether they realize it or not. I love the unknowingly being programmed with amazingly good things in your life, with biblical things in your life, is such a powerful thing. So you mentioned the C5 framework there. What are the 5 C's again? Can you list those?
100%. So the C5 method is capacity. Like, how are we growing? How do we have margin for the things that we have in our life and the things that we want in our lives? Number 2 is competency. How are we developing the skill set to build the future that we want? We often aspire for things, but we don't have the skill set to do the thing. So it's competency. And then number 3 is courage. Like, how willing are we to step outside of our comfort zone to do the discomfort things so that we can be comfortable in the life that we're designing? Number 4 is connection. Who are we connected to, and what are we connected to? And I am convinced that the best investments we can make are relationships, and the worst investments we can make are relationships. And then the last C is curiosity. What are we exploring? How are we asking questions? Are we practicing a mindset of, I know what I know and I'm fixed? Or are we practicing a mindset of, what is this telling me? Like, how am I learning? What is being revealed? What season? So it's just being in a state of a student versus a state of an expert. Like, I've already achieved everything.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to take a break real fast. Shout out the sponsor of the show. When we come back, I would love to hear you kind of walking through those things lining up in your life. Like, who did you intentionally bring into your life? How did you intentionally build those connections, that curiosity? Where did fear creep in and you had to step into faith because fear could have crushed you in those moments? So I'm curious about your journey. We'll talk about that in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's Robzy's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
David, I'm loving this conversation. I'm bummed that we're almost halfway through things already because we're barely even scratching the surface. I want to know for you, going to capacity in the C5 formula there in the framework, what did capacity look like for you in your life?
It was my ability to maintain what I have while also making space for what I don't have. So what that looked like for me, specifically in my life, like post college, was my goal was always to be an entrepreneur. And like I would read about it while working my 9-to-5 job. So I had to maintain my 9-to-5 job and do it well so that I could take the data that I've learned and the objectives that I have achieved and then transfer it over. So it was maintaining that while also building my understanding of what an entrepreneur is and the mindset of a founder, the heart set, the ability to multitask. And it's no longer about you have this role like a traditional 9-to-5. An entrepreneur, you have multiple roles and you have multiple hats. And then how do I lead a team? How do I inspire vision from a startup to actually moving things forward? So that increased my capacity of just like, okay, now I have to maintain my role, and then I have to stretch a little bit more if I want to achieve this goal of becoming an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's really important to understand and have, I think, have peace and grace with yourself about capacity, because I think especially as an entrepreneur, especially when we want something really bad, we have a really strong purpose, a really strong vision. Like for me, I want to like redline it and I'll burn myself out, right? Because I'm like, oh, there's so much I want to do. But I don't have the capacity for all those things yet. You know what I mean? So you dive into a lot of things and you can feel that. I can feel that tension. It's like, when you're pushing yourself just enough outside of your comfort zone, you continue to grow. But you also know when you're like burning yourself out. And some people, I didn't always know that. Certain areas, I'm still learning that. And it's like feeling it out of like, okay, this is my capacity right now. And it's really interesting. As you grow, it's amazing when you look back and you're like, wow, back at the beginning, I could barely, do this one simple thing. Now I've stacked and stacked and stacked all these things on top, and God's given me all this extra capacity for other things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take the time to look back through those things, you're not going to notice the growth that's happened. I love going. Do you go back and kind of recount past years and see how you've grown? Is that something that you like to do?
Yeah, that's interesting you say, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs and high performers. There's an amazing book called the Gain and the Gap, and high performers typically focus on the gap versus the gain. And recently, one of my prayers has been just like, God, thank you. Like I was speaking to a group last night, and I was telling them like clarity is looking past what is and seeing what truly matters. And I was like, in front of you right now, you just see a handsome brother with some dreads. But what you don't know is a child who grew up in projects, a child who was kidnapped, a child who was abused. So, and I look back and I grew up poor. And I remember drinking carnation milk with cereal. And I don't know if anybody's had carnation milk. It's that thick milk.
I never had carnation milk. I
it-
never heard of it
it's
before. Okay.
it's horrible. It's like if you go to the bakery section, it's all the way at the bottom, and that means it's the worst
Okay.
on the shelf. So recently, my prayer has been just God, thank you, because I shouldn't have been here, but thank you for getting me to here. And I look back and just reflect on His mercy. I look back and I reflect on His favor, and when I hear back from different events and speaking opportunities, people like best event ever. This is so amazing. I'm like, and then my team asked me, how does that make you feel? I'm just like, God gets the glory. They got to experience Him. I'm just a pencil. I am a vehicle. I am a vessel, and I am here to serve. So I look back and I'm like, God, that's you, and I'm just doing what you asked me to do.
Yeah. Amen, man. It's so good. You said a statement about clarity there a second ago. Do you know what it was? You said clarity is. Wish I could remember what you said. It was so good.
Oh, looking past what is and seeing what truly matters,
Looking past. I'm just writing down notes. What is and
and
seeing.
seeing what truly matters.
That's really good. Yeah, that's real clarity. Being able to look past what's going on right now to what truly matters in life. Let's talk about connections. Because like you said, we are the people that we spend the most time with, what we consume, those sorts of things are incredibly impactful. I don't think we can even necessarily understand how impactful it is fully. So, connections in your life. How have you intentionally created incredible connections in your life? Because I think this is an area, especially people who are in early entrepreneurship, maybe early in ministry, whatever it might not be something you're that aware of the serious importance of it. How have you cultivated that in your life?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I talk about it in my book, Finding Clarity. And there's a distinction of who to connect to and who not to connect to. So I'll start by who not to connect to or manage the access. It's complainers, consumers, uh, competitors, the unhealthy competitors,
Mm,
and and the criticizers. Right, these are the people not to be around. Um, and then the people to spend more time with are the celebrators, the cultivators, the collaborators, the contributors, and then those four. So how I've built my life even more so to this day has been when I interact with someone and the first thing I'm listening to is like, are they looking to consume or are they looking to collaborate? Are they looking to compete or are they looking to connect? Are they
mm,
looking to? So I'm listening by asking questions. And I believe once we have a blueprint of standards for our lives, that becomes the mile marker or the filtering process on who we give more access to and who we either remove access or even limit access. And I've had really good conversations with a lot of good friends, and I've had to say to them, I was like, bro, I love you. But unless we're building something, unless we're developing something, I don't have time to just hang out. And it was just like, oh, really? And it's like, yeah, like I want to build something. Let's do something productive. Yeah,
yeah.
we can, spend time, but it's like, let the foundation of our connection be creating or collaborating something. If that's not it, I don't have the time and the space to do it. And then it's like, I wish you well and I love you. So that's always a hard conversation because we want to please people and we want everyone to be on the boat, but not everybody who's on the boat is going to help the boat move forward. So I rather have quality than quantity. And that's allowed me to design better relationships that is fulfilling for me versus relationships that I'm just surrounded by people and I'm deprived from real intimacy.
Oh yeah, so true. When I was 18 years old, I remember I only had two like close friends in high school, and I just said I didn't know the Lord back then either, and I just said to myself, I just want to have more friends. So maybe the worst intention I could have had, because there was no prerequisites. It was just Lord, if somebody, not Lord, it was just like, hey, if people like act like they want to be my friend, I'll be their friend. Doesn't matter who they are. So that led to a lot of people. They weren't bad people. They were lost, just like me. Right. So then we ended up doing the things that lost people do.
Yep.
And that took me down a lot of paths that I didn't need to go down because I didn't have any intention behind the connections that I was making. When I got older and I look back on that, I'm like, oh shoot, like I really set myself up because I was so unaware. Like, so being intentional about these are the kind of people I need to be around. And like you said, you're looking for those people that want to collaborate, that it's not like a competition all the time. And you know that, when you're around good people. And I really look for when I'm around somebody who I absolutely love being around them. And I'm also intimidated and I feel like uncomfortable because they're, they might be a few levels above me. I'm like, I need to be here more. Like, this is the place I need to be. Cause it's like, it's like a healthy discomfort. How do you feel about that? A healthy discomfort. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like this person is challenging me to grow just by being who they are. Do you put yourself in those circles?
110%. And that's where the courage comes in, because courage is, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to look silly in the process. And a lot of people are in the public prison of perception. So if someone's a couple of levels ahead of me, then I don't want to be around them because I don't want them to perceive that I'm not enough. But if I have a heart set and a mindset that I'm a student, well, I just haven't learned it yet, or I haven't failed enough times. And we perceive the successful people like, oh man, you made it. Think about how many times they've had to fail before they actually made it. So it's like, I haven't failed enough. I haven't had enough skin in the game. I haven't had enough season or opportunities at bat. It doesn't make me any different. So I've been in those situations where I've been in rooms where people are millionaires, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, they were like, so how's your business going? I was like, oh, we just have one comma coming in. They're just like, oh, we have a couple of commas. And I'm just like, all right, cool. I love that. I'm not there yet, but we're working there. So it's like, what's your process? What's your mindset? And I try to learn like the best practices and how they serve people and how they do it at a high level while maintaining their close relationships. So yeah, I put myself in those rooms, and I love the challenge of being like, okay, I'm the underdog, but I'm gonna get there. Just give me time. I'm gonna get there.
Yeah. And being transparent and asking those questions, when you find the right people, especially the people that, like you said, who have a couple commas, but they're willing to sit down and just share with, because most of those people are like that I've met. I have not met very many who were very guarded with their information. They're usually pretty free. If you ask a question, they're going to provide you with guidance. And that is some of the, just priceless kind of stuff, the rooms that God can put you in. But you have to step out, because I think about so often, how many rooms have I been in my life, or people I've been around in my life, where I wasn't paying attention, or I was full of fear. So I didn't ask a question. I didn't step out. I didn't take the risk of embarrassing myself. And that, who knows what could have come from one of those conversations, right? Who knows what impact that could have had. And I don't mean financially. I just mean just the wisdom you can get from people, and the relationships you can build. It's invaluable, and we should be clear on that. Speaking of clarity, clear on that on a daily basis. When I put this episode together, the word drifting did come up, and I was like, man, drifting is so important, because we can drift and not realize we're drifting, right? And the difference between drifting and deciding, being a decision maker. Was there a point in your life where you were drifting, and how would you identify that?
Yeah. So the drifting for me, it's living by default, and it's doing the things that I've always seen done because we've always done it. There's this famous story of a grandma making a turkey, and she cuts off the sides of the legs. And then the granddaughter end up doing it. And then one day she's like, why are we doing this? It's like, well, my great grandma always done this. And they go back in the story, and they're just like, why did you do this? It's like, well, because we didn't have enough space in the oven. So we've never questioned things because we've always seen it and done it. So for me, particularly, like when I just kept on just working from doing job to job, like for the first 90 days, I'm an amazing employee. After 90 days, I'm finding all of the deficiencies, the inefficiencies, and how I can make things better. And And it's interesting because when they would hire me, especially in sales management roles, it's like, we want a leader. We want someone to be proactive and to take initiative. And I started finding the loopholes. And then I was like, can we improve this? It was like, no, 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 no. And I was like, that's why we're not growing. So for me, it was just like, why am I doing something that doesn't bring me joy? And then I started doing that in my personal relationships. I was connected to people just by being connected to people.
Mhm.
And I would take group photos with people and it looks fun on social media, but I was alone the entire time. So I was like, this is not real. And so when I started having those moments that I started to awake or awaken, it's just like, no, I don't want to do this just to do this. If I do this, I want to decide to do this. I want to be present in doing this. I want to be intentional in doing this. And this has to be enriching or it's non-negotiable, and that's cool. I'm gonna leave it to each their own. So those were the moments when I started noticing my relationships, my workplace, my environments. I was like, this doesn't fulfill me and this doesn't bring me joy. It feels like it's more chaos than peaceful. And
Mhm.
that's when I started making a pivot to deciding what type of life I want to live and who I want to do that with.
Yeah, and you've got to be real intentional about it because you can get really when you start to drift and you don't catch it, it everything is impacted by it, and you cannot really necessarily even predict how far off course you're going to go. I always think of the space shuttle, like when they a space shuttle is going to the moon or wherever it's going. It's a constant It's like every microsecond there's a recorrection. And so if you
Yeah.
think about that, that's like our life. Like if we're not paying attention, so if that space shuttle would micro correct and not recorrect for like one thousandth of a second, that that space shuttle could end up like hundreds of miles off its course because it
Hmm.
needs those micro corrections. We need those micro corrections in our life to have that awareness and to ask God to give us that clarity, to give us that awareness, to
Yeah.
keep us focused. That's really, really good. Let's talk about habits for a minute. We're coming to the end here, and I think habits are so important. What habits for you reinforce clarity versus confusion, say on a daily basis, things we can build in?
Mm. So first and foremost is your body. Like moving your body. For me specifically, I exercise and I do all sorts of exercise. Yoga. I'm a box amateur fighter, and I run. So that helps release a lot of the things that my body stores. And then the next steps I do, like habit wise, is I do a lot of recovery. So I do cold plunges, cryotherapy, red light. So that gets my body to be in a more relaxed state so I can start thinking more clearly. And then the more other physical things I do is journaling, praying, spending time with God. Like there's no better clarity than that. That's
Yeah.
my inspiration. And then habits is having conversations with people that enriches me and reading and listening to different content that I can consume that grows. So if I can focus on who are my people, how am I moving forward in my purpose, and how am I moving my body each day, those are the habits that that allows me to continue to stay in alignment and build clarity from each of those interactions and moments.
Oh yeah, so good. It's so the good things, the things of God are simple, right? They might not be easy all the time, right? To find the motivation to do the thing, but it's simple. The concept is always right there in front of our face. I want to encourage people to check out what you're doing so you can take your clarity assessment. Go to davidbprosper.com. There's a blue button there. It says your clarity score. Click that button to take that clarity score. What can they expect from that? How would you want them to reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Oh, that's awesome. So once you connect with, once you complete your assessment, it's 46 questions and it's in six different areas of your life: spiritually, financially, personally, professionally. Based off how you respond to it, you're going to get a clarity score of like where you're at and where your capacity is at. And then it's going to create a 30-day blueprint for you as far as like what are your next steps in the next 30 days that you can start working on. And then if you want to take it a step further, there's a link after you get your score and your results. you'll click that link and it will connect to my calendar where you can set up a call where we have a 30-minute free, no fee blueprint call. And we talk through things, see if it's a good fit. And if it's a good fit, we'll talk about what long-term coaching looks like.
Very cool. I love that. davidbprosper.com. Click the blue button for your clarity score. Try that out today. Check it out. And at the end of these episodes, I like to ask a question. Just, say we never speak again. Somebody's watching, listening. They never hear from you ever again. And you wanted to leave them with a lasting message. What message would you leave them with?
Progress looks differently every day, and every day find clarity, every day make progress. Progress looks differently every day. Every day find clarity, every day make progress.
Yeah. You've got to refocus. And like you said, getting in the Word, spending time with God, that always brings clarity.
Yeah.
That's so good. I love that. Amazing, dude. Great to meet you. Great to have you on here. Thank you. Another Unstuck story, another true testimony of breakthrough. Until next time, this has been the Unstuck Movement.